Move those rocks, Ethan. Right now.
Funny day. You only learned where my property line was after it started costing you money.
The first time I saw my neighbor use the corner of my lawn like a shortcut, I told myself it had to be a mistake. My house sits on a bend where Willow Creek Drive curves toward the main road, and if you cut the angle just right, you can save maybe 10 whole seconds. Not exactly life-changing. But the next morning, at exactly 6:18, his silver SUV rolled over the same strip of grass again. Then again the next day. By the second week, I was standing in my kitchen window with cold coffee, waiting for the sound of tires pressing into dirt that didn't belong to him. His name was Brandon Pike, the kind of guy who always looked polished before sunrise. He waved at joggers, nodded at dog walkers, smiled at everyone except me. One Saturday, I finally caught him doing it face to face, and when I pointed at the tire marks, he looked straight at my lawn and said, "Relax. Grass grows back." That was the moment it stopped feeling small. I tried polite first, because that's what decent people do when they still think decency might work. I spoke to him once. I left a note once. I even edged the torn grass and reseeded it, hoping a fresh straw would guilt him into stopping. It didn't. He kept cutting the corner like my property was just unfinished pavement. After a week of rain, the lawn looked worse than a construction site. The rut got deeper, muddier, and impossible to ignore. That Friday, my friend Marco came over to help me move some patio materials from behind the shed, and that's when we found the leftover limestone boulders I never used from an old landscaping project. Marco stared at the stones, then at the curve of my yard, and started laughing before I even said a word. The next morning, before sunrise, we hauled 3 of those monsters to the edge of the property line and set them in a clean arc exactly where Brandon liked to cut through. At 6:18 sharp, right on schedule, Brandon came flying down the curve like he always did, except this time he saw stone instead of open grass. His brake lights flashed so hard I could see the red through my blinds. He stopped, stared, then inched forward like the rocks might magically move if he looked offended enough. They didn't. He tried swinging wider into the street, misjudged the angle, and clipped the curb so hard I heard the scrape from my kitchen. For the first time in months, he had to back up and make the turn the way every normal person already did. Over the next several days, the whole neighborhood started noticing the show. People slowed their dog walks. Curtains moved. Brandon kept trying new angles, and every single one made him look more ridiculous. By Thursday, he caught me near the mailbox and asked if I was trying to prove something. I told him no. I was just tired of pretending my yard belonged to him. That weekend, my security camera caught Brandon standing in front of the stones at almost midnight with both hands on his hips, staring at them like they'd personally insulted him. He didn't touch them. He probably realized each one weighed more than his pride could lift. On Monday, he knocked on my door looking wrecked. No smart grit, no polished confidence. Just a man who was suddenly losing time, sleep, and control. He admitted he'd already gotten one warning from work for showing up late to client meetings, and he blamed the extra turn, the traffic, the whole morning mess on those rocks. Then he offered me cash to move them, not to apologize, not to repair the lawn, just to buy a shortcut back. I told him the stones weren't going in. If he wanted to make something right, he could pay for a professional sod repair, edging, and the sprinkler head his tires had crushed a month before. For once, he didn't have a clever answer. Brandon paid for the repairs 3 days later. A landscaping crew replaced the ruined patch with fresh sod, installed a clean stone border behind the boulders, and fixed the broken sprinkler line. After that, he stopped cutting the corner completely. The strange part is what happened next. About a month later, I saw him backing out the long way, slow and careful, and he actually waved. Real wave. No attitude. A few weeks after that, we ended up outside at the same time, and he admitted something I didn't expect. He said his dad used to treat other people's property like it was community overflow space. And somewhere along the way, he learned to do the same thing without noticing. I didn't forgive him on the spot, and we didn't become friends overnight, but the neighborhood got quieter after that. Maybe that's what boundaries do when they finally hold. They don't just stop bad behavior. Sometimes they force people to see it. So tell me honestly, if someone kept helping themselves to your space every single morning, how long would you stay polite before you made them stop?